France does rural drinking establishments rather well. Stone walls, open fires, wine from the barrel, a patron who has owned the place for 40 years and knows every face in the room. Postcard stuff. But some auberges and country taverns never made it onto postcards. Scattered across the French interior are places where the landlord goes quiet when you ask the wrong question. Communes where the church records mention things the curé would rather not discuss. Hamlets where something happened and the walls themselves seem to remember. 15 establishments, real locations, real histories, and the honest reason why locals still won't sit near certain tables after dark. 1. Auberge de la Forêt, Brocéliande, Brittany. The Forest of Brocéliande is the mythological heart of Arthurian France, the place where Merlin was said to be imprisoned by the enchantress Viviane. The auberge at its edge has served travelers since the 17th century. Staff report glasses moving on the bar without contact. A former waitress refused to open the cellar alone after her third week. The patron's explanation: the forest doesn't end at the tree line. 2. Le Relais du Pendu, Corrèze. The name translates directly, the inn of the hanged man. It was given after a traveling merchant was found suspended from the beam above the main fireplace in 1743 murder or suicide. The records do not specify. The beam remains. The current owners have not replaced it. Guests who sit beneath it describe an inexplicable reluctance to finish their wine and leave. 3. Auberge des Templiers, Loire-et-Cher. Built on the foundations of a Templar commandery dissolved in 1307, when the order was suppressed by Philippe IV, the knights who refused to confess were burned within 100 meters of this site. The cellar contains stonework predating the current building by 2 centuries. A local historian who spent a night here for research purposes checked out before dawn and declined to explain why in print. 4. L'Estaminet du Diable, Nord. In the mining communities of northern France, certain establishments acquired reputations that outlasted the industries that built them. This one sits on the edge of a former colliery village near Lens. The name the Devil's Tavern was given by miners who reported hearing tapping sounds beneath the floor on the anniversaries of pit disasters. The sounds have no structural explanation. The tapping continues. 5. Auberge de la Dent du Chat, Savoie. Perched above the Lac de Bourget, at an altitude where mist arrives without warning and stays without permission. An inn has stood on this site since the 15th century. The current structure dates from 1891. 3 separate owners in the 20th century reported the same phenomenon. A woman in a gray dress, visible in the mirror behind the bar, present in the reflection, absent when you turn around. The mirror is still there. The owners stopped mentioning it to staff after the 3rd resignation. 6. Le Cabaret de la Bête, Gévaudan, Lozère. Between 1764 and 1767, something killed over 100 people in the Gévaudan region of the Lozère. The beast of Gévaudan wolf, hybrid, or something the 18th century lacked vocabulary to describe, remains officially unidentified. This tavern, on the route between Saugues and Marvejols, was used as a base by the royal hunters sent to kill it. The ledger recording their expenses is still kept behind the bar. What is not displayed is the page recording the night 3 hunters did not return. 7. Auberge du Pont Noir, Finistère. A low stone building beside a river crossing on the western edge of Brittany. The bridge here was the site of a drowning in 1889. A young woman whose name the village register records, but whose circumstances remain ambiguous. The auberge was the last place she was seen alive. On certain nights in October, according to 3 generations of the owning family, the door to the river-facing room opens by itself. They keep it locked now. It still opens. 8. Le Vieux Logis, Périgord Noir, Dordogne. The Dordogne Valley contains more castles per kilometer than almost anywhere in Europe, which means it also contains more sites of medieval violence. This auberge in the Périgord Noir was used as a field hospital during the 100 Years' War and later during the Wars of Religion. The walls in the lower room are original 14th century, and the stones in the northwest corner carry staining that the current owners declined to characterize publicly. A sommelier who worked here for 2 seasons described hearing whispered conversations in the lower room after closing, always in a language he could not identify, never repeating. 9. Auberge de la Vouivre, Franche-Comté. The Vouivre is a serpentine creature from Franc-Comtois folklore, a dragon-like spirit that inhabits marshes and river sources and appears to those about to die. The auberge near Lons-le-Saunier takes its name from a local sighting recorded in 1901. The landlord at the time drew a sketch of what a farmhand described seeing in the marsh behind the building. The sketch is framed above the bar. Customers who study it too long report dreaming of water that night. The current patron considers this a selling point. 10. Le Relais des Camisards, Cévennes, Garde. The Camisards were Protestant rebels who fought a guerrilla war against Louis XIV's forces in the Cévennes Mountains between 1702 and 1710. This relay was burned by royal troops in 1703 and rebuilt on the same foundations. The rebuilt structure preserved the original cellar, where historical accounts suggest prisoners were held. A guide who runs walking tours of Camisard history refuses to enter the cellar and will not explain his position to tour groups. He simply does not go in. 11. Auberge du Beau, du Monde, Finistère. The name means the inn at the end of the world, which is geographically approximate. It sits near the Pointe du Raz, the westernmost point of mainland France, where the Atlantic begins in earnest. Sailors' establishments at Land's End accumulate history at a particular rate. This one has records of 17 wrecks whose survivors were brought here in the 19th century. Not all of them recovered. The room at the back, which faces the sea, has not been used as a guest room since 1987. The current owners describe the reason as a private matter. 12. Le Cabaret des Revenants, Alsace. In Alsatian folklore, revenants are the returned dead, those who could not rest and came back to settle unfinished matters. This establishment near Obernai takes its name from an event in 1648, immediately following the 30 Years' War, when soldiers returning from the conflict reportedly gathered here to drink with men the village knew to be dead. The account is documented in the commune register. The explanation offered at the time was collective exhaustion and trauma. The commune register does not speculate further. 13. Auberge de la Mer Noire, Auvergne. A roadside auberge on the old Drove Road across the Massif Central, operated by the same family for 5 generations. The 5th generation owner, when asked about the establishment's reputation, provides a consistent answer. Some tables have been unlucky, and the family has learned which ones. The table nearest the eastern window has not been set for a seated meal since 1971. The reason given changes depending on who asks. The table remains. 14. Le Troquet du Marais, Poitevin Marsh, du Sèvres. The Marais Poitevin, the green Venice of France, is a landscape of navigable channels, flat light, and a silence that operates differently from ordinary quiet. This troquet on the marsh edge has served the flat-bottomed boat operators for centuries. 3 separate owners across 200 years have reported identical phenomena. A customer who orders, sits, drinks, and upon payment produces coins that are no longer legal tender. Always different coins. Always from different centuries. Always accepted because refusal, the current patron explains, feels unwise. 15. Auberge de la Chasse Fantôme, Sologne, Loire-et-Cher. The Sologne is hunting country flat, forested, fog-prone, the kind of landscape that absorbs sound and returns silence. The wild hunt of French folklore, La Chasse Fantôme, is said to ride through forests like this on winter nights, and the sound of hooves and horns with no visible source has been reported in this area across 3 centuries. The auberge takes the hunt as its name without irony. Staff who close alone in winter describe a recurring experience, the sound of horses in the courtyard after midnight. The courtyard has been paved since 1962. Hoofbeats on stone have no explanation the current owners are willing to offer publicly. 15. Establishments. Stone walls that remember more than their owners admit. Cellars that predate the buildings above them. Names given in the 18th century that nobody has seen fit to change. France's rural interior holds all of this alongside the wine caves and the weekly markets and the church squares, where nothing appears to have moved since 1780. The auberge at the forest edge and the relais beside the river and the troquet on the marsh, they are all still serving. Most evenings, nothing happens. But the locals know which table not to sit at. They know which seat faces the wrong direction. They know what the patron means when he says the back room is unavailable tonight. Some knowledge passes down without explanation. The smart traveler pays attention to which questions produce silence,